Good morning, everyone. Leah Dixon here from Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. Sorry for popping on just a little bit late, having tech difficulties this morning. And actually, I'm just going to turn down the volume there. I just realized that I could hear myself through my phone. So sorry for taking so long for coming on live for my 10 o'clock online card class, but I'm so glad that you're here. As you pop in, if you want to leave your name in the comments, say hi, and feel free to ask me questions as we go along. Whether you're joining me on Facebook or on YouTube, I can see your comments. If you've never commented before, though, using StreamYard, you do just need to give permissions to StreamYard to share your name with me. Otherwise, it just comes up as Facebook user. So if you can do that, that would be great. So it is Thanksgiving. We have a long weekend, which means extra time for me for stamping, which I absolutely love. And I have a really fun, beautiful class for you this Saturday morning. Or if you're watching this on the replay all throughout the long weekend, the specials that I'm going to talk about today are good right through Monday night. And I did say I'm going to do my prize draw on Monday night at around 8:30. But in terms of actually closing up the class and being able to get the free make and take pack and everything, I won't close that until Tuesday night because Wednesday is actually my day off from working. And that's the day that I'll cut all the paper and package it up for everybody. So let's get started. I'll show you what we are creating with today. I have the Christmas season stamp set and dies, and now you'll see that there's a bundle price on there. That bundle price actually doesn't apply anymore because these are from last year and they're no longer bundled together. But you'll actually find them in our annual catalog, and it was originally part of a much larger suite, and all the parts are still available. Let's see if I can actually, here, I'm going to use my index in the back of my catalog to look this up. Christmas season, page 44. All right, so it actually pairs up with another stamp set that I'll be using as well. So here we go. You've got the Christmas season stamp set and then the Christmas to remember stamp set. So your images and your sentiments are actually separate, which I love because if you love the Christmas season images, you can always pair them up with your own sentiments that you have from other stamp sets. You don't have to get these ones. These ones are nice because they do match up with the dies that I'm going to be using today. And then there's so many ideas on here on how to use this absolutely gorgeous stamp set. All right, so now that you know what we're creating with, let's get started. My first card actually is not a Christmas card. It is Thanksgiving weekend, and we are having company this weekend to celebrate. And so I wanted to be able to give them a special little card. And so we are going to create kind of a Thanksgiving card. All right, so I have a thick basic white card base. This is 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. And I'm just going to grab my bone folder. I'm actually just going to make sure it doesn't have ink on it because I was using it earlier to smush ink around. There we go. So got that done. And then I've got a 4 by 5 1/4 layer that we're going to put right on the front. But before we do that, I want to actually emboss it. I've had this embossing folder. This is kind of embarrassing. I've had this embossing folder since it came out in our catalog. I want to say 2 years ago. It's still in our catalog, and I have never used it. I love it, but I've never used it. And it's the time-worn type embossing folder. So I am using it on today's card. So unfortunately, that means I have to plug in my giant machine that normally sits on another table in my room, and I go to it, but today I will bring it to us. And so here's my stamp and cut and emboss. And what you want to do when you're using this particular folder is you want layer 1. You want to put in your folder with your paper in it. And then you want plate number 4. And that's the sandwich for these 3D embossing folders. Okay. Here we go. All right. So The only reason I don't like using my big machine over here is because I don't like to carry it around. I like to leave it in one spot. And because you guys don't get a very good view of what's happening. It's so big, it fills up the whole screen. But what we have got going on now is this really beautiful time-worn type. Oh, good morning, Valerie. Just working on the first card in my Thanksgiving Day weekend card class. And it is actually a Thanksgiving card using the Christmas season stamp set. So with that done, I am now going to grab a piece of designer series paper, and this is a 1 3/4 by 5 1/4 inch strip of designer series paper from the perfectly penciled designer series pack. So it's all these gorgeous black and white designs with leaves and patterns, and we're actually using this paper on all 3 cards today. And I just absolutely love it. So the black and white is just so beautiful. There's stripes and dots and plaids and circles and flowers and leaves. So we've got this awesome, I love these overlapping circles. We've got those, and we're going to glue this down to our embossed layer. And we're going to kind of try and center it top to bottom. So I like to use the wide end of my glue, put a little dot on there, and spread that around. All right, so with that done, I'm going to do my best here to put that centered top to bottom. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, nobody knows if it's meant to be higher or lower. It's your card. Do it how you'd like, but there we go. And it's kind of nice because the words on this embossing folder help you kind of line it up. Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. It just says Facebook user. So if you want to pop your name into the comments, or you can sign up with StreamYard and give them permission to share your name. All right. So next job for this card is to take some of our black and white gingham ribbon. And we're going to tie a little bow here on the right-hand side. So I'm just going to wrap that around and grab my ribbon scissors. There we go. And with that wrapped around, I'm going to tie a knot. Now, where you tie your knot isn't super important to begin with, because we can slide this around and put our bow where we'd like it. So I'm just starting it with quite far over to the right. And then I'm making bunny ears. Oh my goodness. Wrap that around. There we go. And make our bow, and then just shrink it down to whatever size you would like. I don't want it to be overly large. It's just a little accent off on the side. I do want it kind of on this angle that it's on. Because I'm going to nestle it into the corner of the tag that we're putting on the front. So I like that it's kind of on this little angle. All right, maybe not as much of an angle that it's on, but okay. And I won't trim those up yet because I'm not sure yet where my bow is going to sit, and that will determine how short I want those trimmed. All right, so we're just about ready to attach this to our card front, but I want to get our label cut first so that I can position the bow properly before I glue everything down. So I'm just grabbing a scrap piece of basic white cardstock, and I'm going to get a sentiment out of the Christmas to Remember stamp set. So here it is. Lots of beautiful sentiments in here. So I'm grabbing a sentiment, and it says, "Friends like you make this season special." And I love that it just says this season, because it doesn't say Christmas. So it could be anything. It could be Diwali. It could be Thanksgiving. It could be like, it doesn't matter. We can use this all year round. Easter time, Valentine's, like, it doesn't matter. So I love that. And I am going to stamp it in basic black onto my scrap of paper. All right. Now, you don't have to stamp first. You could have die cut this first, but I kind of like stamping first and then lining the dies up around it. Now, I had my dies and I was showing them to you. What did I do with them? Oh my. Oh, there we go. All right. So the die that I'm going to use is this kind of squarish one. And I'm going to line it up so that the straight edges are on the sides. And for this one, I can bring in my mini, which is lovely because then you guys can see what's happening. So there's my mini machine. I've got plate 3 and 2 plate 2s. So lay this down, line that up, and run it through. There we go. So with our sentiment created, I am going to actually attach it to our card front so that I can get a sense of where, I am just losing everything this morning. There we go. Of where I want that bow, because I want the bow to really be tucked up close. And I also want this to be centered on our card front. So I want that bow over a little bit more, I think. So I'm just going to give it the slightest little bend so that I can move that over. And that's a nice placement of it now. All right, so now that I know where that's going to go, I am actually going to, I'm not going to put that down. I'm going to glue this to our card front now that I know where I want my sentiment and that my bow's in the right spot. So I'm going to use liquid glue again to do this. It's my favorite adhesive. It's economical. You can move it around, and man, is it strong. When I create cards with liquid glue, I never have issues with the layers coming apart. I find with the humidity that we can have here in BC, sometimes if I use other adhesives, my layers can come apart on those extra humid days. But when I use liquid glue, not a concern. All right, so knowing where that is now, I'm going to trim my ribbons because I don't like them sticking off the sides of my cards. They don't fit nicely into envelopes. So we've trimmed that up. All right. This will eventually get attached with dimensional, so I'm going to put them on the back right now. And I'm actually just using up bits of dimensional from my mini dimensionals. So that border that you get with your mini dimensionals, it's really thick and great for using as mock dimensionals. So you just snip up the edges and pop those down. All right, and I am kind of going overboard and using 4. You don't need to. It probably can get by with just a few. So that's going to go on just like that in a little bit. But we have some work to do. We have all the pretty parts to create now for our card. So there we go. I have just some scrap pieces of paper. I don't know how many of these I'm going to need, so I just grabbed a few. And I am going to get, which ones do I want? I'm going to grab this little guy, this leaf, and I think I want like kind of the pointy one. There we go. And I'm going to grab this leaf. And the colors we're going to use are crushed curry and pumpkin pie to stamp these leaves so that we get this beautiful like autumn kind of feel going on. So I'm going to open up my pumpkin pie and my crushed curry. I'm going to kind of keep them separate, and I'm going to put a sponge dauber beside my pumpkin pie because we're actually not going to ink up with our pumpkin pie. We're going to ink up with crushed curry. So I'm going to take my leaves, stamp. Oh, that's very juicy. All right, give me a second here. I'm just going to, yeah, that's a little too juicy. I'm going to use my bone folder. This is what I was doing earlier, is moving some ink just off to the side. There we go. And have a tissue here. Just moving some ink off to the side, and I'm afraid I'm going to do this with my pumpkin pie too, because I'm a little bit worried. I just re-inked my pumpkin pie today, and so it can be a little too much when you re-ink them. I haven't perfected getting the exact right amount of ink on there when you re-ink. All right, so that's going to be better now. Now I still have lots of ink there, but it's not juicy and bubbling. And then I'm going to take my sponge dauber into my pumpkin pie, and I'm going to add, just like not everywhere, just subtle little bits of pumpkin pie around the edges of my leaves. There we go. And then you can either clean this with your Simply Chamois, or I'm just going to stamp mine off a bit. And we're going to do 2 of this pointy leaf. Okay, and I'm going to add a touch more orange to this second one. Okay, and let's put it in like this. All right, oh, beautiful. Such awesome autumn colors. Okay, so I'm going to set that off to the side and grab this one now. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm inking it up with crushed curry to begin. And then I am adding some pumpkin pie. All right, beautiful. So with that done, I can put these inks away. I am always paranoid that I'm going to end up dropping something into my inks. All right, so those are done. I'll wash those up in a few minutes. All right, so we're going to die cut these now. If you don't have the dies, you can always fussy cut them. But I love, for the sake of keeping things moving along, as well as just because I'm not the biggest fussy cutting pen, I love being able to fussy cut these. So we'll start with this one, and they line up so nicely as well, like really easily. Okay, run that through, and then I'll run through the other one twice. So I hope you guys all are having a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend so far. The weather here is insanely beautiful again in British Columbia. It's feeling a little bit spoiled with our great weather. There we go. Just gonna get rid of some of the little bits that stuck on there. So the inside of that leaf cuts out, so we have little white spaces showing, or like openings showing through, but the little backing stuck on there. All right, now this guy, pop him on, cover him up. So hopefully you guys have some nice dinners planned, or a nice opportunity to get out for a hike or a walk in this weather. Some time with friends and family. Hi, Nancy. How's the weather in Prince George right now? Are you guys still enjoying the warmer temperatures like us? All right, there's one, and then we'll cut out the second one, and we're ready to put our card together. Okay, there we go. And back that up. Awesome. All right. So we've got all of those bits die cut. I won't put my machine too far away because our next card needs some die cutting as well. So let's bring all of our pieces back in. Oh, so nice to hear that it's beautiful there as well. I think it's our whole province. It's lovely, like absolutely lovely. Although we do need some rain. All right, so now before I attach this piece that I put the dimensionals on the back of, I am going to use a mini glue dot, and I'm just putting one right down near the base of my leaves. And with this kind of generically sitting where I'd like it, I'm going to pop these in and stick them down before I attach this, because I don't want my dimensionals getting in the way and preventing me from sliding these under. So now this one, I'm just putting the one leaf on top of the mini glue dot and peeling back. And when I put this one in, I actually want it to kind of curve around a little bit. There we go. Not too much though. I don't want it to cover up my words. So I just want it to curve a tiny bit around. So there, we're going to attach it like that. And now we have our last one. Again, I'm just putting this behind one of the leaves. There. And I want this one to be up like that. And so just attaching it like that. Now that we've got that done, I can peel these adhesive backings off of our dimensionals and pop this down onto the front of our card. Okay, and then, like I said, I want that tucked there and I want that tucked there. So I'm really going to work it so that it ends up sitting the way I want it to, and then pop that down. All right, and that is our finished card. So if you wanted to, you could add some bling to it. I actually, I was quite frustrated this morning. I had thought about adding some bling to this, and what I wanted to add to it is actually on back order. It is the seasonal sequins. They're on back order till October 31st, but I just added some gold sequins from that pack onto it. But honestly, with or without the gold, I think it really works quite well. And so you could use any embellishments you wanted on your card if you wanted to add a little touch of bling to it. But I quite like it without. So there we go, just like that. The black and white is just gorgeous together, isn't it, Nancy? That's actually the color challenge this week at, I want to say TGIF Challenges is the crushed curry, pumpkin pie, and black combo is their challenge for the week. All right. Our next card is featuring the black and white again, but this time it is going to be a Christmas card. So what I have here is a lovely triangle of that perfectly penciled paper. What I have done is I cut a 4 by 5 1/4 rectangle, and then I used my paper trimmer to cut it on a diagonal so that I ended up with this corner piece. All right. And we are actually, sorry, not that one. We're actually going to glue it right down to a piece of 4 by 5 1/4 basic white cardstock. But I'm not going to glue it just yet. So I do have a thick card base. Where's mine? There it is. This one is 5.5 by 8.5 scored at 4 1/4. That's going to be our base. Our base for all of our cards today is just a thick basic white cardstock. All right. And now before I glue this patterned piece to this card front, I want to do a little bit of stamping so that I can stamp some things under the edges. So I am going to actually have to grab my Simply Chamois and clean up these images that we were using with the crushed curry and pumpkin pie, because we are now going to switch over to full-on Christmas and use them with some, what is it? Evening Evergreen. Evening Evergreen is the green that we're going to use. So let's get these cleaned up so that we don't have orange on our Christmas card. All right. Yeah, these stamps create such elegant cards. It's really quite unbelievable. Like, they are so beautiful. All right. I'm going to put that off to the side. And so I just have a piece of 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to grab my Evening Evergreen ink. And I'm going to keep this nearby just so that I can sort of guesstimate where I want things stamped. All right, so this one I actually want stamped quite high up. I'm not even worrying about this line because I'm actually going to have a sentiment piece here that's going to block up a bunch of that. And then this guy is going to stamp kind of down lower, so I will move that out of the way. And then I'm going to grab kind of this smaller mistletoe-y piece, and I'm going to pop that in right here. There we go. I am going to grab kind of, it's like the little branches that our berries can go on. And I'm going to pop that in right there. Just like that. And I think I'm also going to grab, where did it go? There it is, my mistletoe. This one, though, I'm not going to stamp in Evening Evergreen. I am going to stamp it in Shaded Spruce. We're going to add in some different greens to this card. Kind of layer it up. So my Shaded Spruce here. And I am going to just do one right here, like that. And the other one just kind of is going to disappear underneath, and it's all no worries. And I'm going to do the same thing up here. Actually, let's just do that one. There we go. And so part of it will get lost. All right. So that is what our layer is going to look like when we put that piece on. Now, on this extra piece that I have, I can actually, I'm going to cut this in half. I don't need the whole thing. Well, at least not for right away. So let's cut that in half. Oh, where'd my thing go? All right. So I just took another piece of 4 by 5 1/4 and made 2 pieces out of it. All right, so on one of them, I'm going to stamp 2 sets of holly leaves in Shaded Spruce. And I left a bit of space there in the middle because I'm also going to stamp 2 sets of holly berries in Real Red. And so I love these holly berries because they stamp all 4 at once. And when you cut them out all 4 at once, and they stay together. It is awesome. All right, with that stamped, I'll set that off to dry for a moment because the red, I find, sometimes doesn't dry quickly, not like our other inks. And while we're waiting for that, I'm going to come in here and stamp my holly berries on these little leaves that I, like the little stem that I put there. All right, so I think that's it for my holly berries. You know what? Actually, I'm going to grab my envelope. I forgot to decorate my other envelope. I'm going to grab my envelope right now, and I am going to just do a quick little holly berry sprig on the front. So grab my Evening Evergreen again. Pop that on like that. Grab my Real Red and my berries. And I do find that these are quite easy to line up, and they just are so cute. All right, so there we go. We've got a little sprig there, and then I'm going to add a little bit of greenery right around it in my Evening Evergreen. And I think I'll do the little mistletoe-y one. Just a little bit down below. And a little bit above. And then maybe just sneak in some tips right there. Awesome. So we have a beautiful decorated envelope now to go with our card. There we go. So let's see, where are all of our bits? So we've got that to be glued together, this to die cut. Oh, right, we need to do our sentiment, and then I'll die cut everything. All right, so using my Shaded Spruce ink, I'm grabbing another sentiment from the Christmas to Remember. This one says, "Have a holly jolly Christmas." I just can never resist using this sentiment when I've stamped the holly berries. And I'm going to stamp this one kind of centerish, maybe a little bit higher than center, just because I want to be able to cut it out, but I also want to have space to stamp it again on my scrap so that I can get my holly jolly stamped in Real Red. So now I am going to grab the smaller of these 2 beautiful dies, and oh, happy Thanksgiving. And I'm going to put that around there and die cut that using my mini machine. So let's get that cut out, and then we'll stamp the rest of the sentiment again on our scrap. Whoops, that whole thing is backwards. All right, plate 3, plate 2, paper, die cut. And so I kind of use the Hava as my guide. I make it straight with the top of the die and centered along the top of the die, and then that kind of makes everything else right. There we go. It's very hard to try and line up the curved Christmas or the scripty holly jolly. So, all right. So we have our sentiment die cut. Now I will be die cutting the other bits in a moment, but first I want to get our holly jolly stamped. So I have to clean that sentiment, take all that shaded spruce off of there. And we're going to re-stamp it in real red. Now, there's my real red. Now, I don't care too much about what I get on here and what I don't, as long as I have the holly jolly on here. And I'm actually going to grab just a scrap paper because I don't want any red ink accidentally getting onto the backs of any of my cards. So I'm just going to stamp the oh, darn it. Nope. Too low. Okay. I'll just grab another scrap entirely. That's not going to be big enough. Let's see. All right. I didn't save a big enough piece. Here we go. Uh-oh. Sorry, guys. I just dropped a stamp. I'm going to pick that up before I lose it. Oh. All right. So I'm going to try that again on this scrap. It really, as long as we have our holly jolly fully visible, it really doesn't matter the rest of our sentiment if it shows up on our paper or not. Perfect. All right, so you're literally just grabbing any scrap. Any scrap will do for this one. All right. So I'm going to let that sit to the side to dry. I'm going to move that out. And we'll die cut now our holly leaves and berries. So those all have their own pieces as well. It's such a convenient little thing to be able to do this. So the berries, it's one die cut, goes around nicely, and it die cuts everything all at once. And then the leaves as well are one die to cut the two leaves, but it will separate them. All right, those two were just a little bit close together, so I'm going to do that one and these berries. There we go. And so we'll run those through. And there we go. And then we'll run through our second set. So you can see here the berries all come out as one and the leaves come out as two, which is nice because then you can change up the direction that they're going. All right, and we have one more set to cut here. Turn that around again and do that. Yeah, so we are actually having our Thanksgiving dinner tonight. Because as the kids get older, they have plans of their own and lives of their own that they want to, do. And so my stepdaughter's wanting to go to her boyfriend's for Thanksgiving, and they're doing it on Sunday. So we are doing our dinner a day early so that she can do that, but still be here with us as well. All right, sorry, I just had to line that up again. It started to go through and then it got stuck for some reason, probably because my plates are getting old and need to be replaced. All right, take two. Let's see if we can get that going. Oh, it's not going to be very straight. Oh, all right. I'm not sure what's happening and why this won't go through. Oh, now it's just all shifted. All right. I'm going to try a completely different angle here. Sometimes with these dies, if you're kind of leading with an edge that's maybe a little too like flat, like speed bumpy, then the mini machine doesn't love it and doesn't want it to go through. So I'm just going to switch these around so that it's more the point of the leaves going through first. Oh, my berries keep switching over on me. There we go. All right. So try that. There we go. That was exactly it. I needed the points of those leaves going through. My first set had the points leading. All right. So a little tip and trick for you when you're using your dies is, yeah, that's going to maybe be an issue. And so if your machine's not rolling through, that could be it. It just wants a pointy end instead of a flat end to lead the way. All right. Pop those off. And now we can start actually putting our whole card together. We have all of our bits created. Now we get to do the fun stuff. All right, so all these little pieces. Oh my goodness, so many pieces. Let's start with this black and white piece, and we're going to glue it down so that it's actually lined up with the side and bottom edges of our cardstock. So if you missed the beginning of this one, I stamped onto my 4 by 5 1/4 piece of basic white, and we've got a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of perfectly penciled designer series paper here, but I cut it in a diagonal from the top right to the bottom left. It's very important that you cut it in that way, because if you cut it the other way, you'll have your diagonal piece, like it won't line up right. You can't just flip it over because the pattern on the other side is a very directional floral pattern. Ask me how I know. You really want to make sure it's the right way. All right, now with this piece done, I'm actually going to glue this one straight down to our card front. So here we go. Liquid glue on there. I just wipe off the excess into the center, and then this gets attached to our base. All right, so nothing fancy happening there, just straight up liquid glue. Glue those down. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to attach our Holly Jolly using dimensionals. And this time around, I don't need to worry about layering things underneath and being careful and waiting. So we're just going to actually put these dimensionals on here. I'm going to use 3. And we're going to stick this right down across our center. It's actually going to help us figure out where to put our holly leaves and layer them on. All right. So with that done, try and center it, and the lines on your perfectly penciled paper help get it straight. And now we're going to take these bits, and again, I'm using dimensionals to attach these as well. And I'm just using 1 on the back. And you may want to lay them out first before you put the dimensionals on the back, just to see how you'd like them. But for me, I'm going to lay that one like that. And I'm going to get this one with a little dimensional on the back. Now, before I peel the backing off this one, I am going to see how it's going to lay. Like, can I put it like that around our sentiment? I don't actually like that. I think I'd like it more in like this. Yeah, I think putting it more in like that's going to work for me. All right. So we're going to do that and put it in like that. Every time you do this, it's going to be a little bit different because, you know, they're all going to, how you stamp them is just going to be a little bit different each time. All right. So now these ones I'm not going to glue down yet. I'm just going to put the dimensionals on the back and see how it's playing out. All right. Just need to snip up a few more edges here. Okay, so I'm just using up the edging on my mini glue dots, or mini dimensionals, sorry, to put on as dimensionals on here. All right, so I think I might actually want my smaller one there, my larger one like that, I think just like that, or do I want it coming out like that? I may actually end up going in and doing a second set of leaves. We'll see. Actually, no, I definitely want the leaf coming down. I don't want the corner showing. So I think we're going to do it just like that. And, yeah, so we're just going to play with this. I'm going to actually, for this one, I'm going to use my snips and I'm going to take one of the berries off. So I'm going to keep the 3 attached, but I'm actually going to remove one of the berries. And I think that's going to go in like that. And that should actually, that'll work out quite nicely like that. Okay, there we go. So I know how I want that one. So I'm going to take the dimensional backing off of there, pop that on, dimensional backing off of there, and pop that on. And now these berries are going to kind of be used to cover up the area where those leaves kind of met. I'm going to use a mini glue dot for that. So I'm going to just put this where the 2 berries are kind of closer attached, just putting that down, putting a mini glue dot there, and using that to attach to our front there. All right, and then over here, I think I'm actually going to let these come up and go over top of the ones that are already there. And just like that. So I'm going to get some mini dimensionals actually, instead of using large ones. I'm going to get some mini dimensionals and put them under, actually I'm going to put them right on the 2 berries that are already on my cardstock. Peel that off, and I'll put 1 mini glue dot behind that lone berry off to the side. And now I can do that and put that down like that. So I think I need just, oh, I know what I need. Like, it's not looking quite as full as I want. That reminds me, what I wanted to do now is take this cute little dot stamp. So this is like just little speckles. And I'm actually going to use that with the Evening Evergreen, but I'm not going to use it full strength. This is really important, is I'm going to stamp off before I put it onto my card. If I didn't stamp off, oh my, it would be so dark and really kind of, not take away, but it would really overpower the card. All right, and I think that's probably enough. All right, so just a little bit of extra in there, just adding some extra little thing to it. All right, and that is our second card all done. So there's a lovely Christmas card using that exact same stamp set. So we have the crushed curry and pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving look, Evening Evergreen Shaded Spruce and Real Red for a real Christmassy look. And now we have a third card, and it is also a Christmas card, but it is just a little bit softer, a little bit. Oh, you guys, I'm sorry. I'm not finished. I'm like, why do I have this on my desktop? I thought it looked plain. We have our Holly Jolly here for a reason. I need my little cutesy paper snips that have run away on me. Oh, there they are. I don't want my sentiment all in one color. We're going to fussy cut our Holly Jolly, and you can do this like in straight lines and curvy lines, like however you want to cut it out, but so that we can still see the Hava and the Christmas around it. And we're going to fussy cut our Holly Jolly and attach it using mini dimensionals onto the front of our card. I cannot believe that I forgot that part. It was like the main thing I wanted to show you guys on this card. All right. Here we go. So this one is a little bit fussier. It's actually not a hard card to make. It's just a lot more steps. All right, I'm just going to cut some of that off so that I don't have so much paper to work around. All right. And so I am just rolling along around these letters, not being too fussy about my fussy cutting. I just want a nice soft, like no harsh edges, kind of rolly cut around all of this. There we go. And now I am going to put some mini dimensionals on the back of this. Just, you can see that there's going to be two spots that are kind of larger that would totally accommodate a mini glue dot or mini dimensional. You could use mini glue dots as well. It just wouldn't pop up then. All right, and then I am going to attach this right over top of the holly jolly that was already there. And it's going to pop out in red. Oh, that is so much better. I'm so glad I didn't forget that step. So there we go. That is our second card, our Christmas card. All right. Oh, thank you, Nancy. All right. Our third card, our last card in this card class. And I don't know if I mentioned it before, but this is a card class. So after you've seen the video and everything, anybody who places a $65 or more order this weekend with me before shipping and taxes, I will actually send you the make and take bits that you need. So like the little cut pieces of perfectly penciled DSP, all the cardstock and everything to create these. And then you just need your own inks and stamps and adhesives. You even get like your little ribbon bits and everything. All right. So our last card is a bit of a softer Christmas card, even though it does use a piece of that black and white paper again. Oh, which I did not cut. Huh. Silly me. Okay, so let's find my, there it is. We are using the polka dot piece from this designer series paper, and I would like a strip of it that is 5 1/4 by 1 3/4. So I'm going to come in here, 1 3/4. There we go, by 5 1/4. There we go. And that is that. So that is actually step 1 of this card, is to take that 1 3/4 by 5 1/4 piece of designer series paper, and we're going to glue it directly to the left hand side of a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of basic white cardstock. All right, and so while I'm gluing that down, there's a few things. I just realized I never put a shopping link in to the description of this video for you, so I will add that to the comments when the video is done. And what I did include in the description of this video, though, is a door prize draw form. So I am giving away a package of embellishments this weekend to anybody who fills in my door prize draw form. And if you share the door prizes, like this video and everything, with a friend and put in the comments that you shared, I'll actually add your name a second time into the draw for those. So we've got our designer series paper glued down to that. Now we're going to grab a piece of ribbon, and I actually can't decide. I think I might go with the green. This is a 2-pack of ribbons. It is called the Real Red and Garden Green 3/8 inch ribbon combo pack. Very descriptive, not very original, but very descriptive name for this pack. All right, so I think I need my scissors because I'm not going to be able to get this open. Oh, thank you so much, Teresa. How are you guys doing in Florida? You've had a heck of a time with hurricanes recently, I think. Oh, thank you. It just says Facebook user, so I'm not sure who is saying beautiful cards as always and shared, but thank you so much for sharing. And thank you very much for the compliment on the cards. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece of green. Yeah, I think the green is going to be perfect. So this is garden green, and we are going to wrap this around kind of quite low actually on our card and create a bow down here. All right. So I am going to tie a knot first before I tie my bow. It does make it a little bit clunky because this ties quite a big knot, but it makes it so much easier to actually tie the bow. All right, so then do my bunny ears and create my bow down here. And again, we're not going to worry too much about placement of it yet because we'll get the other pieces of this card on here and then we'll figure it out. But I want this bow on so that we can start to add layers. Okay, so that green is just beautiful. All right, and I am going to trim this right away. Oh, I am using the Christmas season paired up with the seasonal label dies. And then for sentiment, I'm using Christmas to Remember. It's actually in the annual catalog. It was one of my favorites last year. If you scroll through my gallery on my Facebook page, you'll see quite a few cards actually created using this set because I am in love with it. All right, so there's our garden green bow on there. Now we have this large piece of pool party cardstock. Now when I say large, just 3 3/4 by 5. So it was a scrap, but it was the perfect scrap because I'm going to use the largest label die in our seasonal labels. And I am going to die cut this. Now, I'm not even sure that this is going to fit in my mini. I don't think it will. Maybe if I trim down my cardstock, it will. But I am going to, actually, yeah, I'll trim down my cardstock. As long as your cardstock is 3 1/4, it will fit through your mini dimensional. And you can get away with 3 1/4 just for this die. All right, good. That means I don't have to strain my back and pull out the big one. It's really not that heavy, but I really have that bad of a back, so I like to just leave it on its table and go to it. So my mini is perfect for this kind of thing. And there we go. All right, so with that label cut out, just love it. That's the largest label from our seasonal labels dies. We are going to start stamping straight onto our label. It's not something I love doing. I know a lot of people don't love doing it because if you mess up, then you've messed up and you got to find a way to hide it or restart. So I'm grabbing the sentiment that says, "May this be a Christmas to remember and cherish." And I'm inking it up with Memento black ink. And I'm going to stamp it in the top right-hand corner of this shape that we've created. All right, so there we have that. And now we're going to get even scarier. We're going to start adding like artistic things onto here. We are going to grab the little like pine boughs and my shaded spruce. There we go. Actually, did I use shaded? Yeah, we'll use shaded spruce. We'll do shaded spruce and even evergreen. All right. So my shaded spruce on here. And just like that. I'm going to kind of create like a little V at the bottom around my sentiment. And then I'm going to grab the other pine bough, kind of the larger one. And I'm going to pop that under there. All right. And then for the top, I'm going to grab my little berries. Now I am going to actually, no, I'm going to not do that yet. I'm going to hold off on that because I'm actually going to stamp my pine cones first to see how high up I need to put those berries. So I'm going to hold off. I'm going to grab my little scrap of basic white, and I'm going to get early espresso and soft suede ink. I'm going to start with my soft suede, and I'm going to stamp 2 different pine cones. I'm going to stamp, now when you look at these, you'll see that there's one that looks more full and one that looks more thin. We're going to stamp with our fuller one using soft suede. And I am also going to grab the fuller small pine cone and stamp it right beside in soft suede. Okay, so we've got 2 little soft suede pine cones going on. Isn't the black and white beautiful with all the colors? Actually, it's really working out nicely. The black and white is so pretty. All right, now I've got kind of the thinner pine cone, and I'm putting it down low so it feels like it's filling in the white spaces on my first pine cone. Now, when I first did this, I kind of was panicky and like, oh my gosh, it won't line up. And, I was a little OCD about it all. And then I realized that every pine cone is different and every pine cone looks fabulous no matter how you stamp it. So I kind of stopped caring as much, and they're beautiful. So don't sweat it when you're stamping these. They're going to look great no matter what. I found it really is more to do with the colors you choose than to do with where and how you stamp it. All right, now these pine cones also have die cuts. Love it, love it, love it. So we're going to line those up around the outside. And just like that, we're going to run these through. There we go. Now, if you are planning to stamp a ton of these, I actually highly recommend not doing it the way I just did it. If you're going to do a bunch of these and like mass produce, I highly recommend you take a white piece of paper like I have, but do the die cuts first, and then put this into your stamparatus, line up your stamps inside these shapes, and then take all of your die cut pieces, pop the die cuts into your frame, and use your stamparatus to stamp, and then pull them out and put in the next set of blank white die cuts, and just do it like that. And then there's no lining up, there's no fussing and mussing. It's just super duper fast. Because I'm only making 2, I wasn't going to bother with it. But if I was making a whole bunch, I for sure would be grabbing my stamparatus and die cutting just white paper and stamping onto the white paper that's nestled into that frame. So actually, if you hold on to one of these with your dies, then you always have a frame ready to go, ready to line up, and you're set. All right, so we have these guys. I want to see where these are going to fit on our card. Oh, definitely, Kathy, watch the replay. This is a card class that I'm offering for the Thanksgiving weekend. And there's a chance for you to enter into prize draws. There's a chance for you to, you can purchase and get the make and take bit sent to you, and like all sorts of stuff. So definitely go back and watch the full thing, Kathy. But right now we're just finishing up our 3rd card using the Christmas season stamp set. And I'm just kind of seeing how I want those to fit in here. So I think just like that. So that is why I waited, because I wanted to see where to put my berry branch. That's what you call it, right? So I want it down quite low, actually. And so I'll move those out of the way, and voila. All right, so that's a lot lower than I was going to stamp it. I'm glad I checked. Oh, well, thank you so much. We're just about finished it. I'm just going to start. Oh, red ink on my hand. just going to put the berries on, and then we'll start actually attaching all the pieces together. So this is real red for these berries. And again, you know, a little nerve-wracking stamping right on your card bit, but what can you do? Well, I guess you could just, you know, cut it out and glue it on. So then it's more work, but less nerve-wracking. All right, so that is coming along nicely. All right, I want this bow just a tiny bit smaller, I think. Might be just a bit excessively large. Make that a bit tinier. There we go. All right, so now I can see where I want all my bits. This is going well. Excellent. So this layer where we've got our bow now positioned how we want, our DSP and everything, we're going to glue this one straight down to our card base. So again, I just like to grab a little dot on the tip of the wider end, and then I just drag that dot around and spread a thin layer around the outside. And then that gets glued straight to my card front. So I like doing it this way with the layer on the front, even though it's white on white, because then I can wrap this ribbon and I don't see the ribbon on the inside of my card, and I don't have weird like bits and bobs and everything's secure on my card. All right, that's done. I am now going to get some dimensionals for this piece, because this one's going to pop on with dimensionals, and probably lots of them. Let's see. I've got all these edges from my mini dimensionals. So one in the middle, and then 4 around the outside. There we go. Overkill, but that's all right. So we've got that going on. And there we go. Now, put this one on the right way around. Don't put it on upside down. And I'm trying to center it kind of left to right, but it will be up a little bit high because of our ribbon down at the bottom. Okay, that's done. Now, my pine cones are going to pop onto here. So I'm going to actually use one dimensional out on the far edge of this pine cone. And then I'm just going to use whatever adhesive you want, Seal, Seal Plus, liquid glue, doesn't matter, just something sticky so that it's going to stay attached to our pool party layer as well. And I'm putting it down so that my pine cone's right down at my ribbon is the goal. There we go. And then my other little pine cone, I'm just doing a quick strip of liquid glue, Seal, Seal Plus, whatever you want. And popping that in right like that. Okay, and that ribbon needs to be trimmed again because I moved it down. I said it before, I don't like it when they stick off the edges of my cards. There we go. All right, much better. All right, and that one is, actually I think I want that to go over top. There we go. I'm going to put the ribbon over. All right, so that one is done. Now, the finishing touch that I had thought would go nicely on this card is unfortunately sold out as well. I was thinking that it would be nice to add in some of the festive sequins, but they are also sold out. But you could use anything, like even here, grabbing some of these little pearls and using these guys on here. And actually, I think I'm going to go quite overboard and use a ton of them. Let's see, just like that. And like that. All right. And so those are what we'll use to decorate that card. All right. So let's bring in all 3 of our cards all finished up and show you the whole kind of series. So there we go. We have our first one was our Thanksgiving kind of card. Then we've got our Christmas card and our second Christmas card. So that is the card class for this weekend. Thanks so much, Nancy. And yeah, so with a $65 order, I'll send you like the cut little DSP pieces, the ribbon bits, all of your cardstock, and then you'll be set to go. I'll even be die cutting your 3 labels for you. That way, if you don't have this stamp set, you can use any stamp set that you have that has the greenery and everything. And you'll just need your inks and stamps and adhesives to put these cards together. So thanks again so much for joining me. I try to do an online card class like this once a month. It's usually the second Saturday of the month, but you can always check my social media and I'll post the dates there. And you can join in with me. Don't forget to enter in my door prize draw for this weekend. And one final thing, if when you're ordering to get this make and take class, if your order is over $100, I'll also be sending you a package of embellishments as a thank you in the mail, just separate from your order. So yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend. Spend it in the sunshine if you've got it, and definitely with friends and family. And if you want more like this, you can check out my linktree/stampinwithleah, and see all my card classes. And always join me on Wednesday mornings. I'm live at 9 a.m. on Wednesdays. Thanks so much for watching. Nice to see you, Kathy and Teresa. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. Bye, Nancy. Take care, everyone.